Welcome to the Postgame Show.
And welcome to the AATBirds Postgame Live. The Eagles did beat the New England Patriots 25-20 to go 1-0. So they did get the W. It was a very sloppy game. It was a very on-edge game, edge of your seat, which you never really like to see, especially in week one. You kind of want to have a little bit of an easy game. Now, we had a ton of those last year, so you can't get those every year. You're going to have this. You're going to be rusty. But what are your first thoughts, Chip, on this Eagles victory?
Oh, where to start? Well, if you recall, I called most of this game pretty much accurately. I said that they were going to look strong coming right out of the gate because that's all of the scripted stuff. And then there was going to be a lull because they don't play their starters in the preseason. And it looked exactly like that. Yes, they came into game one healthy, which is, I understand that that's half the battle, but they looked bad. You didn't see the weaknesses in play calling. You didn't see the weaknesses in personnel. You didn't see the opportunities to clean up mistakes. And then they never really turned it back on. The defense bailed us out. The defense bailed us out in the second half. I mean, that's just what it comes down to. And now moving forward, there's a lot to clean up. There's a lot to clean up, and it's very concerning. Now, I'm not quite ready to overreact yet saying that, Brian Johnson needs to be fired. He's the worst play caller. I'm not ready to overreact and say that, I don't even have a ton of overreactions. My concern is that this team.
Well, I saw an overreaction. Listen to this one, that the Eagles are trying to save Jalen Hurts, not run him as much, and that he didn't look like he developed as a passer enough right now. Like, there's concern there. It's like after 1 week, the weather was shit the first half. It was almost like that Jaguar game where it poured down rain, everything. That was a personality on the radio that did say that. But I don't know. To me, watching this game, the defense, they were close a lot of times. They didn't come home until late in the game where it really did matter.
Right.
Jordan Davis making some plays, Jalen Carter making some plays. Those guys getting pressure on the quarterback on a beat up Patriots offensive line.
That's Johnny. That was the thing that we have talked about a lot. And, we messaged throughout the day that this offensive line that they went up against today was not a good offensive line. They were beat up. They were replacement players. And the strength of our team, which is our defensive line, was not able to get to Mac Jones. Now, part of it was the fact that he was getting the ball out in under 2.5 seconds consistently, which is great. But it left that's now on tape that if you can get a quarterback to get the ball out quickly, our secondary and our linebackers are not able to stop. And there are much better quarterbacks out there than Mac Jones.
Yeah, and I think the other thing, too, is you can't discount the Patriots' defense and the defensive plan of Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick had 5 months to plan, knowing, or maybe not 5 months. It came out? No, it did 5 months for April till September. So yeah, he had 5 months to plan for Jalen Hurts and to come up with different disguises and everything in his defense. And when you give Bill Belichick that long to plan a defensive scheme around you, it's going to be tough. And they don't have they have a good defense. It's just their offense last year struggled mightily. And I think another thing that a lot of people aren't going to look at that I really focused on was special teams. And the special teams, the aspect of special teams was the linemen running on the field late. They had to call a penalty too when they only had 10 guys on there.
Yep.
A lot of that was like,
I have more special teams issues. I have an issue with besides Jake Elliott, right? And mom's commenting here, right? Jake Elliott, his foot, saved the team. We know that. But here's the thing. Aaron Sipos should not be on this team. Let me say that again.
49.3 yards per punt.
Except the one punt that he had was out of rhythm, it was out of timing, and it was horrific. And I've yet to see a replay of the extra point that was missed. But if it has anything to do with the hold at all, Sipos is gone, because that, let's be honest, is the real reason why he is still on this team.
So, like I said, Aaron Sipos didn't have a terrible game. Yeah, he had that one miscue with the punt and everything, but when they were backed up, he got the ball past the 50-yard line and passed. Bad coverages on the one.
Terrible.
And, of course, the miscues and not having enough guys on the field. That's Michael Clay's responsibility. And why he is still the special teams coordinator after a pretty bad last year when you look at the special teams unit. And to me, that really opened my eyes. But all in all, looking now, I did see that Nakobe Dean was in a walking boot. The game he was taken out. Now you only have 3 linebackers on the active roster, so definitely something's going to come up with bringing somebody up.
They have to,
whatever it may be. With that, I did see Fletcher Cox on the sideline late. He got banged up a little bit too. James Bradbury got banged up at that last drive, and they had Josh Jobe in there, the second-year man out of Alabama, going up against the Patriots receiver. So to me, it was the edge of your seat type of game. They came through when they needed to, but there was a lot of questionable play calling. Of course, the run with Hurts, that fumble, that was a bang.
Okay, yeah. Let's talk about this play, because this play infuriated me. And you have an opportunity to run the clock out. Now, obviously, Rashad Penny is a healthy scratch today, so you don't have a ton of size in your backfield. But what you do have are running backs whose job it is to protect the football. And what you ended up doing is you took your franchise quarterback, ran a QB draw, and let him take his hardest hit of the afternoon. For what? It was a bad play call. And that's where I know a lot of people, and again, I'm not even going to listen to the radio tomorrow. We already know what the overreactions of Brian Johnson needs to be fired. Sean Desai doesn't have a defense prepared. I don't know what Nick Sirianni's doing. We know all that's coming, based off of a win. But there is some truth too. We did not know what Brian Johnson's weaknesses and tendencies were going to be, because the starters didn't play in the preseason. And I know you put out a very bland, vanilla offense and defensive strategy. But this team, outside of the first quarter, where there were big plays, this team did not look prepared for this game. And they looked rusty. And they never snapped out of it.
They looked rusty. They only had 251 yards of total offense. Only 97 rushing yards.
Dallas Goedert had 0 target. Or he had 1 target late in the fourth quarter, and it was a mile above his head.
And he was open a couple times.
He was open.
The field there.
Again, I'm not knocking Jalen Hurts at all. I mean, he played as well as could be accepted. I did say when I went to the open practice, I said everything I've seen, every preseason game, our quarterbacks are holding the ball for too long. And that was evident again today. Jalen Hurts held the ball entirely too long today.
I think the other aspect, too, is you look at the run game, and Kenny Gainwell only 3.9 yards per carry.
Hurts, he's not a running back one.
And DeAndre Smith only had 1 carry, and so did Boston Scott, each for 3 yards. I was very surprised that Rashad Penny was healthy scratched. I would have loved to see him play. I like Gainwell in the aspect of a change of pace type of back. Agreed. I don't like him as an every down type of player. It just, to me, I think he gives you more benefit out of the backfield, catching the ball here and there. Even if he gets between 5 to 10 rushes, that's fine. But for me, looking at not having Rashad Penny, who is almost 5.1 yards per carry his career, why don't you want that on the field?
It's just, we talk about play calling all the time on this show, and usually it is egregiously unbalanced, in previous years. Now, in recent years, the running game has been a focal point. So tell me why today, in a game where the conditions were better suited for running the ball, they insisted on passing nonstop. You have revamped your running room. You have the strongest offensive line in football. And yet, when the defense was clearly putting pressure onto Jalen Hurts, and Jalen was holding the ball for too long, you didn't ever recommit to the run game. You instead were trying to force passes into Devontae Smith, which he played well. You were then trying to force it to A.J. Brown, who, once they got him involved, he played well. You got a couple good ones into Quez Watkins, but I think they forced Kenny Gainwell too much today. And I think if that's the game plan moving forward, this offense is stoppable. You're telling me that with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and up even Dallas Goedert, that your best option on most plays is Kenny Gainwell or Jalen Hurts running up the middle on first down? It was not a well thought out game plan. It was not a well executed game plan. It was not good. And if that's the game plan, I know they'll readjust, but Minnesota is not as easy of a team to beat as the Patriots.
Well, yeah, and Peanut saying here they predicted to a T.
I believe it.
And Minnesota's, they lost to Tampa Bay, so they're at home, so they're definitely going to be, chomping at the bit to try to get that W. And it's not going to be easy. You're on a short week. Of course, We'll see how the injuries play out. Nakobe Dean and James Bradbury and Fletcher Cox and what really is coming about that. But I think you really saw it too, especially late, especially in the second half, the safety position. Safety position outside of Reed Blankenship with Justin Evans there, Terrell Edmonds. It's lacking. It's lacking.
And Blankenship played well. He made
he
really
played
good.
well. I'm talking about the other side, guy next to him.
I know. And Sidney Brown, he played really well on special teams. And, I think, Fletcher Cox, when he went into the game, he played well. I mean, I think that there were moments where you saw what this defense could be. I think Jalen Carter was absolutely a destructive force. It was fantastic. But again, they were on the field too much. And if Mac Jones is throwing the ball for 300 yards with really nobody to throw the ball to, a couple tight ends, Juju Smith-Schuster, that's it. And he threw for 300. We got beat by Michael Bourne.
Well,
consistently.
Kendrick Bourne.
Exactly. I'm thinking
Bourne.
Exactly. I don't even know his name, but we're going to go up against Justin Jefferson next on Thursday.
Yeah, but you also have to look at this. Mac Jones threw the ball 54 times.
I know we did.
So, and you look at their run game, that was non-existent, which I give the Eagles a lot of credit because last year, one of their biggest flaws was the run game until they were able to, before the Colts game, were able to get Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh. So to be able to see what they did, Ramondre Stevenson's not a bad back. He's a really good running back. Ezekiel Elliott in limited carries is okay, but they were able to hold the Patriots run attack to only 76 yards. So, the Patriots were 5 for 15 on third downs.
Right.
They were 1 for 4 on fourth downs. They had 78 total plays. So
our defense by the end was absolutely gassed. And like Peanut's saying here, like Jones played a good game. You got to give him props. I absolutely do, but it also exposed the same flaws. We can't cover tight ends because we don't have good linebackers. Screen passes, if they get past that first level with the linebackers in the secondary, we don't have guys that can stop them. I mean, it was very eye-opening. And for that to be happening in week one, it's scary. Now, again, the flip side of it is you can go, Patrick Mahomes lost in week one. Joe Burrow lost in week one. Justin Herbert lost in week one. You can bring up all those things.
Raiders beat the Broncos. You had the Rams.
I don't consider the Broncos. The Broncos are not in the same category. No.
Packers, beat up on the Bears, who everyone thinks the Bears was supposed to be, so great.
No, I don't think the Bears are supposed to be that great. Again, the teams that I mentioned are all Super Bowl contenders. The teams that you mentioned, we've yet to see. But I do think that Jalen Hurts. I love Jalen Hurts. And in the end, we won the game. So we do have to focus on the positive. We won the game because we made a big play when it happened, or, Butte didn't get his fute down. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is. But week one, I'm not ready to throw up the alarms yet, but it is eye-opening to some of the things that could become problematic if they are not corrected.
Yeah, no, like it was a frustrating game to watch because there was just no consistency, and they just weren't moving the ball, especially early. They had 5 straight possessions without a first down, which has never happened when Jalen has been the quarterback. And I don't know. It's a tough game, but again, Bill Belichick and that defense, I think a lot of people discredit the Patriots defense. And if their defense can play the way that it has played, they're going to win some football games. And, the Eagles get it out of the way. They get them out of the way. It is what it is. They got the W, and now it's on to Minnesota. It's going to be a tough couple weeks because you got a Thursday, and then you get a little bit of a rest and play Monday night in Tampa.
Right.
But, again, we knew all along that this schedule wasn't going to be like last year.
It's a first-place schedule.
And then, Peanut's saying right here, the Patriots played cover 2 all night.
Yes.
They didn't want to give it the big play.
And they didn't.
Yeah.
And they didn't. So, again, like Peanut's saying, they did win the game. I want to stress that. They did win the game. But, again, there's a lot of things that were very visible with this team that if they don't get corrected will lead to some concerns.
No, yeah, absolutely. But especially with the better teams you play, it's going to be concerning, and you're going to have to be able to move the ball and score some points and, not just kick field goals, 50-yard field goals all the time.
Gotta love Jake Elliott.
He's clutch after missing the extra point, but he still nailed 3 50-yarders and a 48-yarder. So
yeah, when you get the all 22, look at the extra point that was missed and let me know if it was wet ball syndrome or Aaron Sipo syndrome. Because again, that guy's a bum, an absolute bum. And the fact that it hasn't been corrected is infuriating. Another thing that, and again, there's nothing that we can do about this, but for the love of God, how bad is NFL commentating?
It's pretty bad.
I am so how
many mistakes did you catch? Because I heard a whole bunch.
I mean, between calling the team Philadelphia, New England, between them saying the wrong names, between the literal slobber knocking of Tom Brady the entire time. How about it? I flipped it over to Football Night in America over on NBC, and they're like, "Oh, well, here's the highlights from the Eagles-Patriots game." It was all Patriots highlights. Literally all Patriots highlights. Like the Eagles won that game. And I think that for me is kind of the overall point. The Eagles won the game, but they didn't do anything to win the game.
Yeah, they're lucky they had those turnovers in the beginning.
Yeah.
That interception return touchdown. They got that turnover right away again and then scored. But again, that's part of football. You got to do it. But the other thing I thought at the end of the game, when Butte didn't get his Butte in.
His Fute.
Did you hear what Jim Nantz said? He said, "Oh, I think he pushed him out." Well, the pushing out hasn't been been
a decade.
For years.
In a decade. And by the way, if that's the case, then you give A.J. Brown the deep reception, which to me, it still looked like his left hand was holding the ball. I thought that one was a lot closer than Butte's.
To me, it just looked like it was kind of rotating. It wasn't really bobbling. So it was tough. I thought that was a hell of a catch, but unfortunately they ruled otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, the commentary was atrocious. I mean, Romo is knowledgeable about football, but it was so much Tom Brady loving. And, Mac Jones is just like Tom Brady. And, maybe Mac Jones was nervous because Tom Brady was in the building and Tom Brady this and Tom Brady that and Tom Brady this. And, maybe Jalen Hurts is going to be the Eagles Tom Brady. Not that they play the same. I'm like, you think? It's just, a lot of it was moronic. It was tough to listen to. And we know that. But as we get into all of these primetime mainstream games that we're going to play this year, I have to prep mentally for how bad it's going to be and how many times I'm going to flip over to Merrill and Harold because this is Merrill and Mike because this is just too bad.
Yeah, and the thing about it too is the Eagles don't play a game on Sunday for the rest of September. So they play Thursday night, then Monday night, and then they finally, October 1st, they play the Commanders at 1 p.m. And then your run of 4 o'clock games, and then only I think there's 2 more 1 p.m. games. There ain't many 1 p.m., so you'll be waiting a lot.
It's a tough schedule.
So I don't mind the 4:25 games, but they can be pretty tough when you have 2 young kids too. So That's the one tough part when it's bedtime and everything, and you got to try to get everyone going. But the end of the game is there, so it's a lot of juggling and maneuvering that you have to do. But hey, like we said, the Eagles got the win. They're 1-0. That's what matters. The other thing that I did like before we wrap it up here, the Eagles faced some adversity, and
they did.
Let's see how they bounce back from the adversity. They faced it in game and was able to overcome it and able to get the win. When it was pretty tough because the Patriots were put in position after position to take control of that game, and the Eagles defense were able to, hold them and not let that happen. So for me, it's pretty good to see when you have adversity in game. And then now let's see how they react and then go into Thursday and see how they play against the Minnesota Vikings, who, again, they're going to be ready to go. They're 0-1. They don't want to start their season 0-2. So it's going to be a tough matchup.
Yeah. And again, you look at this matchup in general, and this is a playoff matchup. You know what I mean? Like you said, that, the Vikings don't want to start off the season 0-2. We'll hear all the statistics about, teams that start 0-2. The Vikings don't want to start 0-2, and they have a lot more weapons on their offense that we're going to need to be responsible for, and we have to see the outcome of the Nakobe Dean injury for sure. But the Eagles have to make a move at the linebacker position. They got to make a move at the safety position. They have to get stronger, and they have to get it up to speed, because the team that played today, with the way that they played today, was just not good enough. Again, I'm not, sounding the alarm early. I am just saying that there are things that need to be corrected in order for this team to go where we all expect them to go.
Yeah. No, you're right. Absolutely. And of course, I think the Patriots defense is better than what you're going to see with Minnesota's defense, but you still have to be able to play the game. You're going to have to be able to move the ball, and you're going to have to be able to score points, because the Vikings have Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. They have TJ Hawkinson, who is a big-time threat over the middle there. Their run game struggled today.
Yeah, they didn't use it that much.
So hopefully the Eagles can build upon that. But it's going to be interesting to see how the Eagles maneuver the roster, because with an injury to Nakobe Dean.
I'm trying, Peanut. I'm trying. I promise.
Yeah, he's trying. I can see the vein in his neck. He's trying.
Yeah, it's a little early for the week 1 vein.
Yeah, but they just have to be able to just hunker down, and of course it's week by week. But I really want to see how this roster is going to be maneuvered, because you still have your punt returner and your punter on the practice squad. You only have 2 spots to elevate, and if you have an injury, what are they going to do? Are they going to put Zacchaeus at punt returner and then call up maybe a linebacker like Nick Morrow to play linebacker as they call up the punter as well? So there's a lot of maneuvering. It's going to be interesting to see how they do it. And unfortunately, it's a short week too. So there's a lot. There's a lot there.
If there's one thing that I will say on the positive, though, like, again, this was not the most inspiring win. And again, I know Peanut's trying to get me to calm down. I have people on Twitter, again, a win is a win. I get all that, and I agree with all that. I think that if there's people that I trust to kind of see the issues and adjust to the issues, it's Nick Sirianni, it's Jalen Hurts, it's Jason Kelsey, it's Fletcher Cox, it's Brandon Graham. I mean, we have so many unbelievably strong leaders with very big goals that they're going to look at this tape, say what it is, call it out. They're not going to pull punches, and they're going to come ready to fight on Thursday. So again, I'm not trying to sound panicky. I'm not trying to sound the alarm, but there's things to fix.
Oh, no doubt. Absolutely. There's things.
And maybe next year we'll play the starters in the preseason. I'm just saying.
Maybe a game or a series or 2.
Or a series. Just give me a series.
But no, you're right. Just look at Thursday night. Both of those teams have a lot to clean up. It wasn't pretty. And you're going to have that the first month of the season, because teams don't play that much in the preseason. So they're going to need to be able to clean these things up, and they're going to be able to, go back and go to the drawing board, be able to fix the mistakes you made. It's just the way it's going to have to be.
Right.
So again, you're not going to be able to roll over. And listen, we had a lot of issues week 1 last year.
We did.
They scored a lot of points. offensively, they scored points. They were able to move the ball, do things, but defensively, they struggled. They gave up a ton of points to the Detroit Lions, who, in fact, is a good football team, but at that point, we didn't think they were going to be as good, and they started out rough anyway, but week one, you always struggle just because, again, you're not playing in the preseason. You're trying to knock the rust off. It's just about getting the wins, and the Eagles, they got the win.
Exactly. And again, that's what it's going to have to be. That's what is going to be. 1-0 is better than 0-1. But again, let's clean it up.
And that'll kind of wrap up the AATBirds post-game live. This Wednesday night, we are going to have Luke Braun from Locked On Vikings. We had him on last year before the Eagles-Vikings matchup. We're going to have him on again this year. It's going to be a little bit later of a start. It's going to be we're going to start around 9:45. He'll pop on around the 10 o'clock area. Talk about this matchup, talk about some key matchups, some key injuries, what's going on with the Vikings, about their game and kind of what he sees with them so far. And then, of course, we'll break down the Eagles as well and then give you our predictions and everything we usually do on our preview matchup, Eagles weekly preview matchup. So, but hey, Eagles got the win. We can go the first couple of days because we can't go a week because they play Thursday. So
I'm gonna savor the flavor of it. I'm going to savor the flavor. I'm going to savor the flavor of a W as opposed to an L. But when you look at that all 22, when you look at that all 22, I need to know whose fault the extra point was.
Okay, I'll let you know whose fault it was. Don't worry. And of course, like we always end every show, Peanut has it right here. A good and happy 1-0.
Go Birds!
Go Birds!
This is Matt Ware. Hey, for all the Eagle content you need, go follow All About the Birds. They do a damn thing. Check them out.
Hey, Eagles fans, I may be in Tampa, but I know where to find the best Eagles content out there. Check out my friends at All About the Birds.
Philadelphia, what's up? This your boy Freddie Mitchell, a.k.a. Fred X. It's all about the bird.
All birds all the time. All birds all the time.
All About the Birds provides you with weekly analysis, game recaps, informative interviews, and it's all birds all the time.